The tension inside the family home was already unbearable before anyone even said a single word. Jenny tried to stay calm while sitting beside Sumit, but the uncomfortable silence around the room made it obvious that something bad was about to happen. Sumit's mother avoided eye contact, his father looked frustrated, and then suddenly, his aunt walked into the room with an expression that instantly changed the atmosphere. The moment she sat down, everyone knew trouble had arrived. Jenny attempted a polite smile, hoping the evening could remain peaceful, but Sumit's aunt wasn't interested in peace at all. She stared directly at Jenny with cold eyes and immediately began questioning why she was still living with Sumit despite all the family problems. Her tone became sharper with every sentence, and the room quickly filled with tension. Sumit tried to interrupt before things escalated, but his aunt refused to stop. She claimed Jenny had destroyed family harmony and accused her of pulling Sumit away from his culture and traditions. Jenny looked shocked by the sudden attack and struggled to respond while everyone watched in silence. The atmosphere became painfully awkward as Sumit nervously rubbed his hands together, clearly torn between defending Jenny and respecting his family elders. But things only became worse when his aunt suddenly called Jenny selfish and disrespectful. That comment instantly changed everything. Jenny's face dropped, and even Sumit looked stunned by how harsh the insult sounded. For a few seconds, nobody spoke. Then Jenny finally broke the silence by calmly explaining that she never wanted to hurt the family and only wanted a peaceful life with Sumit. But instead of calming down, the aunt laughed sarcastically and claimed Jenny was pretending to be innocent. The argument exploded from there. Voices became louder, emotions took over the room, and every family member suddenly started speaking at once. Sumit desperately tried to calm everyone down, but nobody listened to him anymore. His aunt pointed directly at Jenny and said the family would never fully accept her no matter how hard she tried. That sentence hit Jenny emotionally, and viewers could instantly see the pain in her eyes. She looked towards Sumit hoping he would strongly defend her, but he hesitated, which only made the situation worse. Jenny then stood up and asked why the family continued humiliating her after everything she had sacrificed to be with Sumit. The room became silent again for a brief moment before Sumit's aunt fired back by saying Jenny should have never entered their lives in the first place. Even Sumit's parents appeared uncomfortable hearing the brutal exchange, but nobody stepped in to stop it. The family gathering had now turned into a complete disaster. Jenny became emotional and accused the family of constantly judging her because of her age and background. Sumit's aunt responded by saying the relationship embarrassed the entire family in front of relatives and neighbors. That statement pushed the fight to another level. Sumit finally raised his voice and demanded everyone stop attacking Jenny, but by then the damage had already been done. His aunt stood up angrily and warned Sumit that choosing Jenny over his family would have serious consequences. The entire room froze after hearing those words. Jenny looked heartbroken while Sumit seemed completely trapped between love and family loyalty. The emotional pressure on him became impossible to hide. His mother quietly wiped tears from her face while his father stared at the floor in frustration. Nobody expected the evening to spiral this badly, but the situation kept getting more intense every second. Jenny eventually told the family she was tired of constantly being treated like an outsider. Her voice cracked with emotion as she explained how much emotional pain she had endured over the years just to stay with Sumit. But instead of sympathy, Sumit's aunt continued criticizing her and claimed she was manipulating everyone emotionally. That accusation shocked Jenny completely. She turned towards Sumit again, expecting stronger support this time, but his silence created even more tension. The argument reached a breaking point when Jenny suddenly said maybe the family would never truly accept her no matter what she did. Sumit looked devastated hearing that statement because deep down he knew she was probably right. The room fell into another heavy silence before his aunt coldly replied that acceptance must be earned, not demanded. Those words cut deeply into Jenny's emotions. She grabbed her bag and appeared ready to walk out as Sumit rushed after her trying to calm her down before things became irreversible. Meanwhile, the family remained inside arguing among themselves about whether the relationship had already gone too far to save. The entire night ended in chaos, emotional tears, and painful silence. But what shocked everyone most was a preview for what happens next, because Jenny hinted she might finally be reaching her breaking point after years of family attacks and emotional humiliation. Fans immediately began wondering whether this explosive fight could permanently damage Jenny and Sumit's relationship forever. The evening started quietly, but underneath the calm atmosphere, tension was already building like a storm waiting to explode. Jenny walked into the family gathering hoping things would finally improve between her and Sumit's relatives. She even brought small gifts and tried her best to appear cheerful, believing this meeting could become a fresh start after months of awkward family drama. Sumit stayed close beside her the entire time, almost as if he already sensed something bad was about to happen. The uncomfortable expressions around the room made it obvious that not everyone was happy to see Jenny there. Still, she kept smiling and attempted to stay positive. For a short moment, everything seemed manageable. People exchanged polite conversation, tea was served, and the atmosphere remained tense but controlled. Then suddenly, Sumit's aunt entered the room, and the energy instantly changed. Her face looked serious, and instead of greeting Jenny warmly, she sat down while staring at her with visible disapproval. The silence that followed felt painfully heavy. Jenny tried breaking the tension by asking how everyone had been doing, but Sumit's aunt ignored the question completely. Instead, she turned towards Sumit and asked why he continued forcing the family into uncomfortable situations. The comment immediately caught everyone off guard. Sumit attempted to calm the conversation before it escalated, but his aunt clearly arrived prepared for confrontation. She claimed the entire family had suffered embarrassment because of his relationship with Jenny and accused him of ignoring cultural values for selfish reasons. Jenny looked hurt hearing those words, especially because she had spent years trying to prove her love for Sumit was genuine. She calmly explained that she never intended to create division inside the family and only wanted acceptance. But the aunt laughed bitterly and accused Jenny of pretending to be the victim. The room quickly filled with tension as voices started becoming louder. Sumit's mother nervously looked around while his father remained silent, clearly frustrated by the growing conflict. Jenny tried staying respectful, but the constant criticism became emotionally overwhelming. She explained how much she had sacrificed to move across the world for Sumit, leaving behind her comfort, friends, and familiar life just to be with the man she loved. Instead of sympathy, Sumit's aunt argued that sacrifice alone could never justify destroying family traditions. Her harsh words shocked everyone in the room. Even Sumit appeared uncomfortable with how aggressive the conversation had become. He finally stepped in and defended Jenny, saying she had done everything possible to make peace with the family. But that defense only made his aunt angrier. She accused Sumit of blindly choosing Jenny over his own blood relatives and warned him that family respect should come before romance. Jenny's eyes immediately filled with tears as the argument intensified. She admitted she felt exhausted from constantly being treated like an outsider no matter how hard she tried. Her emotional confession briefly silenced the room, but the calm lasted only seconds before the aunt fired back again, claiming Jenny enjoyed manipulating situations emotionally whenever she faced criticism. That accusation completely stunned Jenny. She looked towards Sumit in disbelief while trying to process the cruel statement. The atmosphere became unbearable. Nobody knew what to say anymore because the confrontation had reached a deeply personal level. Sumit's mother quietly asked everyone to calm down, but her voice was barely heard over the growing argument. Jenny then asked the family one heartbreaking question. She wanted to know if they would ever truly accept her or if she would always remain an unwelcome outsider in their eyes. Nobody answered immediately. The silence itself felt like an answer. Sumit looked devastated because he could see how deeply the rejection was hurting Jenny emotionally. His aunt finally responded coldly by saying respect must be earned over time and not demanded overnight. But Jenny replied that she had already spent years trying to earn that respect and still faced constant humiliation. Her voice cracked with emotion while speaking, making the entire room feel painfully tense. Sumit then raised his voice for the first time during the fight and firmly told his aunt to stop insulting Jenny. That moment shocked everyone because Sumit rarely challenged his elders so directly. His aunt stood up angrily and accused Jenny of turning him against his own family. The confrontation instantly exploded into complete chaos. Multiple family members started arguing at once while emotions spiraled out of control. Jenny looked emotionally drained as she stood silently near the doorway, clearly questioning whether continuing this relationship was worth the endless family conflict anymore. Sumit rushed toward her, begging her not to leave upset, but the damage had already been done. Jenny admitted she felt mentally exhausted after years of judgment and criticism. She explained that no matter what she did, someone in the family always found another reason to attack her relationship with Sumit. Hearing her speak so honestly created an emotional atmosphere inside the room. Even Sumit's father appeared conflicted while listening quietly from the corner. But the aunt remained firm and insisted the relationship continued, bringing shame and stress into the family's life. Jenny could no longer hide her frustration. She finally admitted she felt tired of fighting for acceptance that never seemed to come. Those words visibly affected Sumit because he knew she had reached an emotional breaking point. He tried reassuring her that they would get through the situation together, but even his confidence sounded uncertain. The emotional pressure from both sides was crushing him. His family expected loyalty and obedience while Jenny expected protection and support. Caught between both worlds, Sumit looked completely overwhelmed. The family gathering eventually ended with heavy silence and emotional distance between everyone. Jenny walked out of the house wiping tears from her eyes while Sumit followed closely behind, trying desperately to comfort her. Inside the home, relatives continued arguing about whether the relationship had already damaged the family beyond repair. Meanwhile, Jenny privately admitted she no longer knew how much more emotional pain she could handle. Her heartbreaking words instantly left fans wondering whether this explosive confrontation could finally become the moment that changes everything forever between her and Sumit. The family gathering was supposed to be simple, peaceful, and respectful, but from the moment Jenny entered the house, something felt completely wrong. The smiles around the room looked forced, the conversations sounded awkward, and the tension in the air was impossible to ignore. Jenny tried convincing herself that maybe she was only overthinking the situation, but deep down, she could already sense trouble waiting around the corner. Sumit stayed unusually quiet beside her, which only increased her nervousness. Normally he would try making jokes or keeping the mood light, but tonight he looked stressed before anything had even happened. Jenny politely greeted everyone and attempted to start friendly conversations, hoping the evening could move forward without drama. For a few minutes, things remained calm enough. Tea was served, chairs were arranged around the living room, and everyone pretended the atmosphere wasn't painfully uncomfortable. But the second Sumit's aunt arrived, the entire energy inside the house changed instantly. She entered the room with a serious expression and barely acknowledged Jenny's presence. Instead of greeting her warmly, she sat down and immediately began questioning why another family meeting was even necessary when nobody's opinions had changed. The room fell silent. Jenny's smile slowly disappeared as she realized the conversation was already turning negative. Sumit attempted to redirect the discussion before it escalated, but his aunt had no intention of staying quiet. She claimed the family had already tolerated enough embarrassment because of Sumit and Jenny's relationship and insisted the situation had damaged their reputation among relatives and neighbors. Jenny looked visibly hurt by the accusation. She calmly explained that she never wanted to disrespect anyone and had spent years trying to become part of the family. But the aunt interrupted her almost immediately and accused her of pretending to be innocent while secretly creating division between Sumit and his relatives. The sharp accusation shocked everyone in the room. Sumit's mother nervously looked toward her husband while trying to avoid direct involvement in the fight. Meanwhile, Sumit himself looked trapped between defending Jenny and maintaining peace with his family elders. Jenny took a deep breath and tried remaining calm despite the emotional pressure building around her. She explained that loving Sumit should not make her the enemy of the family. But instead of softening, the aunt became even more aggressive. She accused Jenny of manipulating Sumit emotionally and changing him completely from the person he used to be. Hearing those words clearly upset Jenny deeply. Her eyes filled with frustration as she asked what exactly she had done besides loving someone sincerely. The aunt responded coldly by saying that sometimes love alone is not enough when family honor is involved. The atmosphere instantly became heavier after that statement. Nobody wanted to speak because every sentence now carried emotional weight. Sumit finally stepped in and defended Jenny, saying she had sacrificed everything to be with him and deserved respect after all these years. But his defense only fueled the argument further. His aunt turned toward him angrily and accused him of abandoning his own culture and traditions for someone who would never truly understand their family values. The words hit hard. Jenny looked emotionally exhausted as the criticism continued non-stop. She admitted that no matter how much effort she made, somebody in the family always found another reason to reject her. Her voice shook while speaking, making the situation even more emotional. For a brief second, the room became silent. But then the aunt sarcastically replied that respect cannot be forced through emotional speeches. That comment pushed Jenny closer to her breaking point. She stood up slowly and asked why she continued being treated like a problem instead of a human being with feelings. Sumit's father quietly lowered his head while his mother looked visibly uncomfortable listening to the painful exchange. But nobody stopped the argument. The tension kept growing stronger every minute. Jenny then admitted something that shocked everyone in the room. She confessed that lately she had started wondering whether the family would ever truly accept her no matter how long she stayed with Sumit. The honesty in her voice created another long silence. Sumit looked heartbroken hearing her speak that way because he knew the constant family conflict had emotionally drained her over the years. But before he could respond, his aunt once again attacked Jenny by claiming the relationship had brought nothing but stress and humiliation into the family's life. At that moment, Sumit finally lost patience. He raised his voice louder than anyone expected and demanded that his aunt stop insulting Jenny immediately. The entire room froze in shock because Sumit rarely spoke to elders that way. His aunt stood up furiously and accused Jenny of poisoning Sumit's mind against his own family. Suddenly, everyone began arguing at once. Voices echoed across the house while emotions spiraled completely out of control. Jenny looked overwhelmed as tears formed in her eyes. She grabbed her bag and headed toward the door, clearly unable to handle another second of humiliation. Sumit rushed after her while trying desperately to calm her down. Outside the house, Jenny emotionally admitted she was tired of constantly fighting for acceptance that never seemed to come. She questioned whether their relationship could truly survive when family hostility continued destroying every peaceful moment in their lives. Sumit tried comforting her and promised things would improve eventually, but even he sounded uncertain. The emotional pressure from both sides had become too much for him to hide anymore. Inside the house, relatives continued debating whether Sumit was making the biggest mistake of his life by staying with Jenny. Meanwhile, Jenny sat silently outside feeling more isolated than ever before. The explosive confrontation left emotional damage everywhere, and by the end of the night, one terrifying question remained in everyone's mind. Was this massive family fight finally the moment that pushes Jenny and Sumit's relationship beyond the point of repair forever? The day began with hope, but by the end of the night, the entire family was left emotionally shattered after one explosive confrontation changed everything. Jenny woke up that morning believing things might finally improve between her and Sumit's relatives. After years of tension, arguments, and emotional distance, she hoped this family gathering could become a fresh start. She carefully prepared herself, chose a simple outfit, and repeatedly reminded herself to stay calm no matter what happened. Sumit also seemed nervous the entire day. He tried acting positive around Jenny, but his anxious expression made it obvious he feared another disaster waiting to happen. The closer they got to the family home, the quieter he became. Jenny noticed it immediately but chose not to say anything because she already understood the pressure he constantly faced between love and family expectations. When they finally arrived, the atmosphere inside the house already felt uncomfortable. Conversations sounded forced, smiles looked unnatural, and nobody seemed fully relaxed. Still, Jenny tried her best to stay respectful and friendly. She greeted everyone warmly and even attempted small talk to reduce the tension. For a short while, things appeared manageable. Sumit's mother served tea while relatives exchanged polite conversation. But deep underneath the surface, unresolved frustration continued building quietly. Then suddenly, Sumit's aunt entered the room, and everything changed instantly. The moment she sat down, the uncomfortable silence became impossible to ignore. She stared directly at Jenny with clear disapproval before asking why the family kept pretending everything was normal when the real problem still existed. Her harsh tone shocked the room immediately. Jenny looked stunned but tried remaining calm. Sumit quickly attempted changing the subject, but his aunt refused to back down. She claimed the family had suffered enough embarrassment because of Sumit's relationship and accused Jenny of destroying peace within the household. Hearing those accusations deeply hurt Jenny because she had spent years trying to prove her love was genuine. She calmly explained that she never intended to divide the family and only wanted a peaceful life with Sumit. But instead of understanding her feelings, the aunt responded coldly and accused Jenny of manipulating the situation to gain sympathy. The tension instantly exploded. Sumit's father remained silent while his mother nervously begged everyone to lower their voices, but nobody listened anymore. The argument had already become personal. Jenny emotionally explained how much she sacrificed to be with Sumit, including leaving behind her old life and enduring constant criticism from people who never truly gave her a chance. But the aunt dismissed her sacrifices completely and argued that family honor mattered more than personal emotions. Those words hit Jenny hard. She looked towards Sumit, hoping he would strongly defend her, but his hesitation created even more emotional pain. Feeling unsupported, Jenny admitted she was exhausted from